yo creo que aquí hay dos temas que son importantes. Primero, pedirle la ayuda para que todo el equipo precisamente que estamos utilizando en la lucha contra el narcotráfico pueda ser utilizado contra el narcoterrorismo. Y yo creo que este es un elemento muy importante. El segundo, el tema comercial. Yo creo que es importante en que tenemos que buscar las preferencias arancelarias. Eso es empleo, eso es comercio, es mejorar la calidad de vida de los colombianos, y es el otro tema que hablaremos con el presidente Bush. El tercero también el del estatus permanente o temporal, perdón, de los colombianos en los Estados Unidos, que en todas nuestras reuniones, tanto con el presidente Clinton como con el presidente Bush, lo hemos tratado, y generar la conciencia de que esta guerra, que además nosotros hemos avanzado. Fíjese que el año pasado fumigamos cerca de 100.000 hectáreas en Colombia, que le demostramos al mundo que podemos combatirla, pero que necesitamos la ayuda, que era un compromiso en 5 años acabar, y es el compromiso del gobierno colombiano en 5 años, acabar con el 50% de los cultivos ilícitos en Colombia. Yo creo que hemos avanzado muchísimo más allá, estamos avanzando en el Putumayo. Hay lógicamente problemas, a veces es la falta de recursos. Fíjese que Colombia en este momento ha invertido cerca de 800 millones de dólares en el Plan Colombia, y los Estados Unidos en su componente social solo 40. Por lo tanto, necesitamos la ayuda de Estados Unidos y la ayuda de Europa.
Presidente, las últimas horas ha intrigado mucho y ha caído como un balado de agua fría que el candidato Uribe dijera que las fuerzas militares mucho tilín y poca acción. ¿Qué tiene que usted decir ante eso?
Creo que la verdad es que nuestras fuerzas militares vienen asumiendo una posición muy importante. Estamos combatiendo el terrorismo, estamos combatiendo un enemigo que es muy difícil saber dónde y cuándo aparece, que estamos reforzándolo y que lo hemos reforzado como nunca antes nuestras fuerzas militares, en que le hemos dado a las fuerzas militares nuestro compromiso, pero lógicamente lo que tenemos también es una guerrilla que no los confronta, que está atacando es a la población civil, que cuando van a confrontarse a los pueblos salen corriendo, que no están dispuestos a combatir con ellos. Por eso hemos dicho que la sociedad civil tiene que ser excluida de este conflicto. Y yo creo que, la verdad, quienes somos y quienes aspiramos a ser presidentes de Colombia, lo primero es que tenemos que entender que somos el comandante supremo de las fuerzas militares, y es con ellas que vamos a trabajar, y es a ellas y con ellas con quienes hemos venido trabajando y fortaleciéndolas. Que hay problemas, pero es que aquí siempre estamos cayendo es precisamente en la otra situación, que cuando la guerrilla hace un acto de terrorismo se le culpa a las fuerzas militares o se le culpa al gobierno, que si la guerrilla secuestra o asesina, se le culpa es a las fuerzas militares o a la policía o al gobierno. Y lo que tenemos que hacer los colombianos es unirnos precisamente contra ellos, que son los que están asesinando a los colombianos, los que están asesinando a la gente más pobre, a la gente más necesitada de este país. Por eso hemos insistido que deben excluirlos a la población civil del conflicto, y todos los colombianos unidos en torno a ellos. Porque lo que yo dije el otro día, si hay secuestrados en este momento, como condenamos el secuestro de 11 diputados, la vida está en manos de ellos. La FARC le va a tener que responder a Colombia y al mundo, no solamente ellos de todos, sino de todos y cada uno de los secuestrados que tienen en sus manos.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Minister of Finance.
See you, my pleasure.
General Tapia,
General, good to see you. My pleasure.
Martin Frost.
Good to see you. How are you? So how are you?
I'm doing fine. You know, a lot of work. I'm trying to make things work. Hey, Mark Sauter.
Yeah, good to see you. How are you? How are you?
Good.
Pleased to see you.
Good to see you again, huh? How are you? Thank you for coming. For a minute.
It's a great honor again to have you here. I think the first time in our nations. We have with us today Porter Goss, who's the chairman of the Intelligence Party. We have Mark Sauter, who I know that you know very well from our drug task force. So, it's a building as president. You will be missed. Ends. But I believe I speak for all members of Congress, and I say that you're I just want to say we've had a very good meeting with President Estrada. And one of the things that I remember 3.5 years ago, he came before I was Speaker, and we met downstairs when I was Chief Deputy Whip, and we talked about working together and trying to forge the relationship between his country, Colombia, and the United States of America. And there were a lot of challenges. One of the things, the problems we saw is up to 16,000 kids die of, mostly kids, of drugs or drug violence in this country. And over the last 10 years, over 30,000 people in his country that died of political violence, mostly because of drug cartels and the narco-terrorism. So just in the freedom and liberty of our countries, we have a shared concern. We've worked together to try to stop drug production. We've tried to find alternatives. We've tried to do the interdiction and the demand reduction, and we've had a good relationship. Sometimes we've been successful, and sometimes we haven't been as successful as we wanted to. But today, both our nations are threatened by terrorism, some in ways very much alike, in some ways very different. But our two nations must continue to stand together, to work together, to make sure that the oldest continuous democracy in South America continues to be a democracy. We share those freedoms and those liberties, and we thank him very much for being here today.
Yes, I think it's not more to say that thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your words. We came back to talk to the Speaker of the House to, first of all, thank him for his leadership in these 3.5 years. We have implemented a program with a large social component that is Plan Colombia. For the first time, we are not looking only the military side of the drugs, but also the social side, and it's starting to give results. We have advanced in the protection of human rights in our country, and now we have a common enemy that is narco-terrorism. In the last weeks, in the last months, that's what we had in our country, and that's why we're asking also the support of the United States to fight narco-terrorism, the support of the world to fight this common enemy, that is violence financed by drugs. And that's what we hope to continue with the next government in the same condition as a bipartisan support from the United States, and the same in our country when they are going to elect in the next month the next president of Colombia. So we want to thank you, Mr. Speakers, once again in the name of Colombia, in my personally, all your help, all your leadership, that's a big legacy to fight this common enemy that is narco-trafficking, and we know that with our support, with your support, and these common efforts to fight this common enemy, we will going to win this war. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
First of all, we have passed the Andean Trade Preference Bill out of the House of Representatives. We're waiting for the Senate to act. It's very important we do that. It's unfair to make demands on the whole region, Andean region, to change behavior, to change how some people make a living without giving them opportunities. We think trade is an important opportunity, and we'll continue to work on that. As we said, we've already passed that bill out of the House of Representatives. We're waiting for the Senate to act. On the other issue, we think it's important. Terrorism is terrorism, whether it's narco-terrorism or terrorism against the government and liberties and freedoms that people share. We're going to work very diligently with the President to make sure that that happens. Of course, this is a little d democratic process, and we have to get everybody to agree, but we'll work very hard to make that happen.
Are you satisfied, sir, that the money we are giving Colombia has been used to good effect up till now?
Well, you know, we've worked. It's been a partnership, and I was one of the first people back when I was even back in 1998, before I was Speaker, to make sure that dollars were there, that we could help in that fight to stop the growth of coca, and of course we were successful and had more success in places like Bolivia and Peru. But as success happened there, a lot of that imploded on Colombia as well. So we've had bigger problems, and we will continue to fight. This is not a war that's over in months or even years, but may take a decade to win. But it's a step at a time, and I think the distance that we've come since President Pastrana has been in office, and it's been a tremendous distance. Prior, 4 years ago, we didn't have a chance of really working together in with another democratic government in place and having real significance and change. President Pastrana has brought that change around. We're very pleased with that, and we'll continue to work on it. Gracias. Thank you very much.
me your time and we want to come and say hello to you.
Thank you for coming in. Hello, Mr.
How are you? Good to see you. Commander over here.
Well, please come in.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. We had I went to have an interview with Alan for lunch in the Show of Valor. So we went there and then we had a very nice booth. We'll be back on Friday.
There's more longer than you. You know, on both sides of the aisle. So we're always delighted to see you and welcome you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
¿Qué pasa? No, que no mire mis colegas aquí me maten que no le hablé. ¿Ah?
I couldn't have worked.
So are you having a good time?
Is,
Present!
Here,
No, thank you.
for taking here.
Thank you.
Well, a lot's been happening.
You will know.
He's not here today.
With your family, we know that still we have a order. These people, so it's a very sensitive issue. And on the other side is the Congress. And so this is the United States is the first one. Sorry, thank you very much. I know. No, thank you very much for being with us, and
Well, we're
I think
interested
we're going to have a
in,
good conversation.
Thank you very much. We're glad you're here.
Minister Santos, Minister of Finance.
Nice to see you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Secretary, good to see you again.
Have you met Ann Patterson?
Mr. Secretary, very nice to meet you.
Well, I will leave you.
So we've been.
Working where it's really needed.
Yes. Thank you.
I hope it's not you too much. This meeting is really needed some of our legalistic arguments about intelligence sharing. Who is in this room still? I mean, it's.
Thank you very much.
We had which is not at all unusual, with President Pastrana, a great meeting. I said to President Pastrana, I've been a senator for 29 years. I can't think of any leader of any head of state of any country who has had greater respect and affection from the members of the committee than President Pastrana. And so we talked about a number of things. There are two things on the agenda of the president. One was a change in the law relative to the ability to use American helicopters and American trained forces, American helicopters in particular, to deal with insurgents. There's a question. We'll be holding a hearing on that next week. I believe it's next week. I indicated I personally not only have an open mind, I'm inclined to support it. One of the questions to be raised is whether, in light of the fact now that the FARC has been designated and the leader is a part of a terrorist organization, whether there's even a need for the change in the law. But we'll explore that, hear from the administration next week, and we will hear from our colleagues. We had a thorough discussion on that. Secondly, there is the Andean trade legislation that Senator Dodd is a leader on. I strongly support. A number of us do. We have a bit of a usual, not unusual, Senate dilemma. There is a decided minority in the Senate who would not like to see that brought up. but Senator Daschle has indicated that between now and the end of May, we will try to get a vote on that. I am hopeful we will be successful. We discussed a number of other issues, but there are the two primary issues. I'd like to, before I ask the President to come forward, ask Senator Dodd whether he'd like to add anything at all to what I just said, and then take from the President.
Bueno, alguna palabra en español, pero tengo vergüenza en la presencia del presidente. Que a veces yo hago algunos equivocados. Es la culpa de los puertorriqueños, porque ellos me enseñaron de hablar español, pero déjeme decir que... No, está bien, no se ve. Déjeme decir que yo no conozco un otro presidente que tiene el cariño que tiene el presidente Pastrana por los ambos partidos aquí en el Senado. El trabajo que él ha hecho para su pueblo, la gente de Colombia, es increíble. Durante los 4 años de su presidencia. Y para nosotros sabemos que la ley de Colombia dice que no se puede correr otra vez para la oficina, pero ya ojalá que él va a seguir en el trabajo de la paz de Colombia y de otras partes de las Américas también. Lo que ha dicho nuestro presidente del comité, señor Biden, es correcto, que sabemos aquí que la guerra en Colombia ha cambiado. También respetamos mucho la fuerza, el ejemplo del pueblo colombiano. Han sufrido increíble. Ahora quizás la gente de aquí en los Estados Unidos comprenden, después el 11 de septiembre, qué quiere decir terrorismo. No es solamente una palabra, pero el sufrimiento del pueblo, los políticos, la prensa, los miembros de la Corte Suprema de su país, todo que han sufrido, más que 3,000 cada año que están, ¿cómo se dice? Kidnapped, secuestrado en el país. Entonces ya apoyamos, yo he apoyado muchas veces el plan colombiano, que el autor es presidente Pastrana, no vamos a seguir con eso. Déjeme decir también, y yo sé que el presidente está de acuerdo con eso, necesitamos el apoyo. Ojalá que los otros líderes en los otros países en América Latina entiendan bien eso. Necesitamos su apoyo. Necesitamos su apoyo. Este no puede ser solamente una guerra por la parte de nosotros y los colombianos. Necesitamos el apoyo de los otros países también, porque lo que han pasado en Colombia ha pasado en otros países y puede pasar otra vez. Entonces necesitamos el apoyo del mundo. Si ellos quieren hacer una guerra contra el terrorismo y los narcotráficos, necesitamos su apoyo. Bueno, estoy diciendo eso solamente. Yo creo que tenemos el apoyo en el Senado. Ojalá también, porque los derechos humanos son muy importantes. Otra vez, el presidente Pastrana comprende eso, apoya eso mucho. Y sabemos que los paramilitares tenemos que luchar contra algunas cosas que están haciendo en su país. Es importantísimo también eso. Pero lo que ha dicho el presidente Biden es correcto. Yo creo que tenemos el apoyo para el plan colombiano y ojalá que el presidente que venga en las elecciones en Colombia sigue con el trabajo del presidente Pastrana. Si no sigue trabajando para los derechos humanos, trabajando por la economía de su país, el apoyo que tiene Colombia ahora, eso puede terminar aquí en el Congreso. Si encontramos un presidente que no siga con el trabajo del presidente Pastrana, puede ser un problema bastante grande aquí en el Congreso. Sí, pero depende de lo que dicen los líderes en el Senado. El presidente Biden ha dicho que el señor Daschle, senador Daschle, quiere llevar el tratado en frente del Senado. Ojalá que podamos pasar eso pronto. Bueno, ojalá. No soy un líder del Senado, depende de lo que hacen ellos. No.
Habla bien, ¿no? ¿El puertorriqueño o el español? Bueno, básicamente yo creo que la continuación precisamente de la política que implementamos desde el punto de vista bipartidista con los Estados Unidos, se están hablando de 538 millones de dólares para el año 2003, de 35 millones de dólares adicionales en el suplementario que va a entrar precisamente a la Cámara, y adicionalmente también la posibilidad del cambio de uso del equipo militar para que pueda ser utilizado también en acciones contra el narcoterrorismo.
¿Le plantearon algunos condicionamientos, algunas restricciones y en el momento de discutir esa ayuda?
No, por el momento ninguno.
¿El campo de batalla, como dijo, es el único lugar donde se puede ganar la lucha contra el narcoterrorismo en Colombia?
Bueno, hay dos cosas. Yo siempre he insistido y seguiré insistiendo en la solución política al conflicto armado. ¿Cuál es el fin de la guerra? La paz. Y por esa misma razón yo creo que la solución política es donde debemos buscar nosotros la solución, no solamente en Colombia, sino en el mundo. Como decía Gandhi, el camino es la paz y hacia allá tenemos que llegar. Pero en segunda instancia hay que combatir el narcoterrorismo, que es totalmente distinto. Hoy el mundo no está dispuesto a aceptar el narcoterrorismo. Si usted recuerda, Al-Qaeda es un grupo narcoterrorista. Inclusive el primer ministro inglés ha dicho que está precisamente en la alianza con los Estados Unidos porque era el grupo que más droga estaba enviando a su propio país y que por eso tenemos que unir los esfuerzos. Y aquí hay un hecho muy importante. En el Grupo de Río, que acaba de terminar la reunión en Costa Rica, la resolución apoyando el proceso de paz en Colombia tiene un elemento muy importante y es el respeto a todas las resoluciones del Consejo de Seguridad de las Naciones Unidas referente al terrorismo, proyecto que en muchas ocasiones hemos impulsado nosotros los colombianos. Y yo creo que es muy importante que hoy todos los países de Latinoamérica nos hayamos unidos para decir no vamos a aceptar terroristas en nuestros territorios. Ese es un mensaje muy claro para el terrorismo a nivel mundial. No tenemos ninguna información hasta el momento. Le he dicho al señor ministro de Relaciones Exteriores que envíe una carta al ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de Venezuela para pedirles a ellos o solicitarles a ellos información a este respecto.
Presidente, ¿qué reacción tiene usted frente a los últimos hechos de terror en Colombia? Se ha conocido el atentado de Medellín, la carro bomba, e igualmente en La Cruz se habló de que estuvieron amarrados unos policías tratando de chantajear a los otros para que fueran asesinados.
Bueno, yo creo que lo más importante es que las operaciones realizadas por el Ejército de Colombia permitió la liberación de todos los policías en Santa Cruz. Se actuó y se reaccionó muy rápidamente y yo creo que esto es claramente lo que hemos venido insistiendo de una reacción frente a las dificultades que se pueden presentar por cuestiones climatológicas o por otras razones u otros motivos, pero el Ejército colombiano reaccionó de una forma muy rápida con la policía y logramos la liberación de todos los policías. En segunda instancia, con relación al carro bomba, es el terrorismo que estamos condenando en el mundo. Una vez más, ese ataque va contra la población civil, contra la gente más pobre, contra los más necesitados en Colombia. Es lo que el mundo está condenando. La FARC ha resuelto catalogarse como un grupo narcoterrorista. Eso es lo que el mundo está condenando y por eso hoy estamos aquí pidiéndole la ayuda a los Estados Unidos para que podamos combatir a un enemigo común que es el narcoterrorismo, que es lo que se está viviendo hoy en Colombia. Todo esto, pues, lógicamente, como lo hemos calificado, son actos que violan las normas del derecho internacional humanitario, las normas de los derechos humanos, y yo he dicho, con proceso o sin proceso de paz, el mundo va a estar vigilante de los derechos humanos en Colombia. Llámese grupos insurgentes o grupos paramilitares o el propio Estado colombiano, y por eso hemos llamado la atención. El mundo hoy hemos unido nuestros esfuerzos también en el respeto al derecho internacional humanitario y al respeto a los derechos humanos.
Gracias.
My scheduler found me and said, "What are you doing here? You got to be over to S301."
Oh, no, thank you very much for
So I'm sorry. Glad to be with you.
Thank you very much, Senator.
How are you doing? Good to
Good
see
to
you.
see you.
Here now. Oh, very good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
Bet, yeah.
Nice to see you guys.
You bet. Glad to have you here.
Nice to see you again, Senator.
You bet,
How are
yeah.
you?
This guy's ambassador for Iowa here, and an ambassador's tour. Your country's been represented.
Señor presidente.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello, how are you? See you. How are you? Good to see you.
Sit down. The Colombian war. Before the President and I will answer a couple of questions from both the U.S. side and the Colombian side, I do want to welcome my friend, Andres Pastrana, back to the White House. President Pastrana is a has taken on a huge task in his country. One is to defend democracy and the institutions of democracy, and he's done a great job of that. Secondly, is to fight narco trafficking. He has led a valiant effort at eradicating coca fields, standing strong against the narco traffickers, and as well he fights terrorism in his country. He fights well-organized, well-funded groups that are out to destroy democracy in Colombia, and he has been strong in his support for democracy, not only in his own country but in the region. We had a good discussion about a variety of issues, about how to change the focus of our strategy from counter-narcotics to include counter-terrorism. I explained to him that a supplemental I set up to the United States Congress will do just that. As well, we talked about the need to get the Andean Trade Preference Act passed out of the United States Senate, reconciled if there's any differences with the House of Representatives, and to my desk as quickly as possible. I am a strong supporter of trade with our Andean friends. The President knows firsthand how important that trade is, not only for commercial reasons, but also as a way to help fight against narco trafficking, provide opportunities for people in his country. This is a good friend, and it's my honor to welcome him back to the White House, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, President Bush. Once again, thank you for having us here in the Oval Office. I think you've said everything, and the only thing that I want to say is, first of all, thank you for your help, for your leadership in helping Colombia and helping the world. At the end, we are fighting a common enemy that is narco-trafficking and narco-terrorism. We have full support of President Bush and the government, first in trying to, as you said, Mr. President, in change of authorities, the use of the military equipment sent by the United States to Colombia to be used against also narco-terrorism, not only against narco-trafficking. Secondly, as you said, and you've been a big supporter of ATPA, the Andean Preference Act is fundamental for us. It's commerce. As we said, we don't want aid, we want commerce. And that's what we need in Colombia also as one of the big components of the social side of Plan Colombia, that is social investment. And social investment is jobs, better jobs, and well-paid jobs. So I think that with the help of the government, but the most important, with the help of the U.S. Congress, we will have ATPA before the end of May, and that's going to be fundamental in our fight on drugs. So thank you very much, Mr. President, for all your help.
De la AP, Senor Fournier. The French.
Mr. President, if I could ask you about another elected issue. Your administration has strongly condemned the possibility of square with the war on terrorism and medical policy.
My administration was very clear when there were troubles on the streets in Venezuela that we support democracy and did not support any extra constitutional action. My administration spoke with a very clear voice about our strong support of democracy. It is very important for President Chavez to do what he said he was going to do, to address the reasons why there was so much turmoil on the streets. And it's very important for him to embrace those institutions which are fundamental to democracy, including freedom of press and freedom for the ability for the opposition to speak out. And if there's lessons to be learned, it's important that he learn them. Mr. President, care to comment on that?
Yes, first of all, I think there's no doubt in Latin America of the support and promotion of President Bush on democracy in the region. I think that's something that nobody could put in doubt of your support and promotion of democracy in the whole region. As you said, what we're expecting is that President Chavez said in his speech that he is going to be try to look for a reconciliation inside Venezuela, that he's going to correct many mistakes, and we hope that what he's going to correct is toward strengthening democracy, respect, as you said, Mr. President, civil laws, give guarantees to the opposition, the freedom of the press, respect of human rights, and that's what all Latin America are supporting and what we want in the case of President Chavez. In our case, for example, I think one of the mistakes was regarding the presence of the guerrilla groups in Venezuela. Yesterday, unfortunately, Mr. President, in the media, national and international, we had information that Mexico closed the office of the narco-terrorist group in Mexico, and the first information is that they could be in Venezuela. So that's why today, Mr. President, I'm sending a letter through my Minister of Foreign Affairs to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Venezuela asking if there's the FARC, these members of the FARC are present in Venezuela or not, that we need an information. We approved a very clear resolution in the Group Rio meeting in Costa Rica last week, supporting what you promote in the Security Council, ban any presence of terrorists in any countries, and that's what we want to do in Latin America.
Mr. President, how do you respond to the rejection of Canada and Mexico to participate with troops in the Northern Command that was announced yesterday by the Secretary of Defense, Rumsfeld? Do you think Mexico and Canada will in the future participate with troops in the Northern Command?
Well, I think that the restructuring of our command structure really represents that we're in a new world and that we face new threats. Our relationships with Canada and Mexico will not change as a result of restructuring. It's a better way for us to organize against an enemy that is willing to strike at America in our neighborhood. And that's what this reflects. It reflects the ability to coordinate a possible response against an enemy that's fearless. And these are killers. They're cold-blooded killers. And they've hit us before, and they want to hit us again. And so the unified command structure now is going to reflect the true threats that we face. We used to not face these threats in the past. We thought two oceans would keep us safe. We thought there's no way that an enemy could possibly strike America again after Pearl Harbor. And were we wrong? We were really wrong. And so therefore, excuse me for a second, please. And so therefore, it is very important for us to make sure that we prepare our military, as well as our respective homeland securities against attack. So not only are we looking at how to, for a new command structure for military, we're also working very closely with Canada, y también Mexico, on making sure that our border is more secure, on making sure that we've got better intelligence sharing, on making sure that that cooperation at all levels is as good as it can possibly be. And it is as good as it can possibly be. I'm real pleased with the efforts we're making with our neighbors.
Fight that. And you mentioned freedom of the press when you were talking about things President Chavez should do. What other specific things do you think he should do following his coup?
Well, first, the reason I mentioned freedom of the press is because when things got hot in Venezuela, he shut the press down. I want you to know, I've never thought about doing that, no matter what kind of questions these guys ask here. Mr. President, I've always believed in the free press. I don't care how tough the questions are, or as significantly how they editorialize in their news stories. But nevertheless, because I respect the press, and so should President Chavez. It's essential he do that. And so there's a good example of what I'm talking about. When the pressure gets on, leadership should not compromise those institutions that are so important for democracy. The right for the opponents to speak out is essential. There is one of the things that is essential is that people be given the liberty of expressing their opinion without fear of reprisal. The first part of your question was whether or not FARC is utilizing Venezuela to strike our friend. I'll let our friend speak to that. He's a man who has to live with this problem. We discussed this very issue. And by the way, it's not just FARC basing in Venezuela to strike Colombia. It's as well FARC striking Venezuelan ranchers that aren't protected by the Venezuelan government. But why don't you speak to that, Mr. President?
I think that, as you remember, some weeks ago there was denounced that FARC was using the Venezuelan territory to attack the Colombian militaries. And these, as you remember, 2 or 3 days before all the crisis in Venezuela, the chief commander of the army, General Vasquez, personally said to President Chavez that FARC was using Venezuelan territory to attack Colombia. So that's why we had a meeting last week, the 10th of April, between the foreign minister of Colombia and the foreign minister of Venezuela, because we are asking questions and we want answers of what was happening. And we propose a creation of a binational commission between Colombia and Venezuela to study all these reports that we're putting on the press and on the media by journalists of Colombia and Venezuela of the presence of FARC on Venezuelan territory. That's why we sent the letter yesterday asking the Venezuela government if it's true that members of the FARC that were thrown away from Mexico, the office of the FARC was closed in Mexico. We were asking and we want answers if these guys are or not in Venezuela. That's what we're expecting of the answer of the foreign minister of Venezuela.
President, what will your message then for countries, in this case Venezuela or other countries, that might open the doors to so-called terrorists?
Well, we spent a lot of time talking about these aren't so-called terrorists, these are terrorists in Colombia. And the reason they're terrorists is because they're using murder to try to achieve political ends. They tried to blow up recently tried to blow up the man running for president. They've captured people. They're after Andres. And so my message is that we will work with you to rout out terror. We put FARC, AUC on our terrorist list. We've called them for what they are. These are killers who use killing and intimidation to foster political means. And we want to join. We plan Colombia's billions of dollars to not only fight and by fighting narco trafficking, by the way, we're fighting the funding source for these political terrorists. And sometimes they're interchangeable. And we've got to be strong in the fight against terror. And the United States, listen, my biggest job now is to defend our security and to help our friends defend their security against terror. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing. And each area of the world requires a different response. That in some parts of the world, we'll deal militarily. In some parts of the world, we'll help our friends to deal militarily. In some parts of the world, perhaps we can rout out terror through just simply cutting off money. In other parts of the world, diplomacy seems to have an effect. We're working with our friends in Europe to use their law enforcement officials to arrest known al-Qaeda killers hiding in their country or plotters. We've been at this now for 7 months. Colombia has been at this for a lot longer period of time. And we're beginning to make a lot of progress. The key to success is not to grow tired in the fight against terror. And I can assure you, I won't. I know this good president is dedicated to fighting terror. And it's essential for Colombia to succeed in this war against terror in order for her people to realize the vast potential of a great democratic country. Colombia is an essential part of a peaceful South America. Colombia has got a fantastic tradition, a noble tradition of democracy. It's led the way. And I'm confident that with the right leadership and the right help from America, the kind of leadership Andres is providing now, that Colombia can succeed. And it's in everybody's interest that she does succeed. Listen, thank you all.
Thank you all very much. Lights. Thank you all.
Bueno, yo creo que es muy buena. La verdad que vinimos a tocar de 3 temas que eran fundamentales, o básicamente 2. El cambio de uso del equipo militar que está dedicado solamente a la lucha contra el narcotráfico, para la lucha contra el narcoterrorismo, todo el tema comercial de el ATPA, que es muy importante para nosotros, el poder promocionarlo y el poder buscar que muy rápidamente, antes del 16 de mayo, pueda ser aprobado por el Congreso de los Estados Unidos, lo que va a traer para nuestros países más empleo, lo que va a traer para nuestros países bienestar, y es uno de los mecanismos complementarios para, como ya lo hemos reiterado, combatir la droga. Al fin y al cabo, esa es una de las fórmulas también de inversión social y del componente social que aspiramos se pueda tener en nuestro país a través también del Plan Colombia.
Presidente, su posición ha sido muy contundente con relación a la posible presencia de miembros de la FARC en Venezuela. ¿En qué sentido irá dirigida esa carta que se enviará a Venezuela pidiendo una explicación?
A ver, yo creo que el país sabe que muy claramente desde la semana anterior, precisamente en Costa Rica, hubo una reunión entre la ministra encargada de Relaciones Exteriores y el ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de Venezuela para buscar los mecanismos para implementar la comisión que nosotros habíamos propuesto a través de una comunicación al presidente Chávez. Porque yo creo que lo que importante es esclarecer si hay o no presencia del grupo guerrillero de las FARC en Venezuela. Ustedes se recuerdan que fue el propio general Vázquez el que hizo la denuncia que las FARC estaban actuando desde territorio venezolano. Por eso mismo nos vimos ayer con preocupación que los medios nacionales e internacionales, después de la decisión tomada por el gobierno mexicano de cerrar las oficinas de la FARC en México, podían estar en Venezuela. Y por eso en el día de ayer el señor canciller Fernández dirigió una carta al canciller Dávila solicitando la información para saber si están o no están los representantes de la FARC en Venezuela. Y esto es muy importante porque ustedes recuerdan también que en el Grupo de Río se aprobó una resolución respaldando la política de paz en Colombia, pero de la misma manera respaldando las resoluciones del Consejo de Seguridad que prohíben presencia de terroristas en territorio, en este caso, de los países miembros del Grupo de Río, que esto es muy importante y la aprobamos todos los presidentes.
And the fact that their political wing, Sinn Féin, can still raise funds legally here in the United States? And would you like to ask the legislatures that you're going to speak with later today?
Yes, we are concerned. You know that we have captured 3 of them in Colombia, that they supposedly had links with the FARC, that they were training some of the members of the FARC. There's all these due process going forward for them to see what happened with these people, these members of the IRA in Colombia. We know that there's going to be a hearing next week here in Washington, and I think it's going to be very important because also that's a way when we're going to show what happened in our country, how they were involved in the internal conflict of Colombia, and I think that's also very important to show to the world. Narco-terrorism is attacking the world, and it's attacking also our territories. Well, that's something you, United States, you have to decide. No, it's internal. Sí.
Le aseguró el presidente Bush que la administración va a certificar a Colombia de modo de que se pueda recibir los $400 millones.
Bueno, no hablamos directamente del tema de los derechos humanos, hoy no lo hablamos. Ese es un tema que nosotros hemos venido compartiendo con los distintos funcionarios del gobierno americano y del Congreso, que existen preocupaciones y creo que en esto se ha hecho mucha claridad. En buena parte yo creo que hay una clara demostración por parte del gobierno colombiano. Como usted bien sabe, nosotros impulsamos y promocionamos una ley al interior del Congreso de Colombia que nos permitía a nosotros retirar del servicio a miembros de las fuerzas militares que estuvieran vinculados con grupos paramilitares, que estuvieran vinculados con narcotráfico, que estuvieran vinculados con violación de los derechos humanos o por incapacidad. Y como usted bien conoce, llevamos desde el momento mismo en que se aprobó la ley más de 650 miembros de las fuerzas militares que han sido retirados del servicio por muchas causas. Ellas y algunos de ellos por violación de los derechos humanos o por posibles vínculos con las autodefensas o por vinculación con el narcotráfico. Y esta es una clara señal del interés no solamente del gobierno, sino de las fuerzas militares, de buscar al interior de ellas generar una clara conciencia de respeto a los derechos humanos y de romper cualquier vínculo que pueda existir con los grupos de autodefensa.
Así que le ha dado señal la administración o el presidente Bush de que se va a dar esa asistencia.
Esperamos que sí, se está trabajando, insisto, puede haber dudas, estamos resolviendo esas dudas con las distintas autoridades, esperamos que podamos sacarlas muy rápidamente. Hablamos también con el TPS de la posibilidad de que se pueda impulsar, hemos venido hablando de él también en el Congreso americano. No, por el momento la verdad que estuvimos hablando del tema la última vez, hemos hablado con los congresistas en esta oportunidad y esperamos que podamos lograrlo.
Muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Pushing forward.
the ambassador?
Hi, good to see you again. Great to see you, Mr. President, I do want you to meet, come on over, Mark. These are two gentlemen sitting with me, and I said, well, my next appointment is with Colombia. And as you might know, in how small this world is, he said,
Colombiano. Colombiano por adopción.
Yes. Por adopción, sí. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hang on, I'm going to give you... with the difficulties on the letter, my job is to... I mean, sometimes you make a movement, it's fairly critical in the end. It's his own timetable. When we try to impose a timetable, well, we'll see, it's difficult to rule sometimes.
Welcome to the United States.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I think all your friends will be...
You know that we're sure I promised him to send the Gloria. And Admiral sort of put it in maintenance. So I'm sorry about it. You know, I was talking the other day, and I said to the congressman, I will send the Gloria, and it has to go to reparation.
We're trying to find that solution.
Okay. When is going to be the...
July 4th.
July 4th? Yeah, the 4th for the 4th.
Put some big tall ship.
That's the problem. Thank you.
You and I didn't see a lot of each other.
A lot of this these days.
Appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
He have some issues. That the president was helping, and we were with Senator Shelby and Senator in one of his golf courses.
He's got about 10 courses now in Palm Springs.
10? About $600 million investment.
His profits, he's been buying up his bunkers.
To begin with members that are here. First of all, let me say this in a couple of in the dinner and the meetings that I have been in, and I want to say
We've been there for 1 year when we were at Harvard. They invited us to run somebody from here in the Center for International Affairs in 1990. Wow. We had a good time. Thank you. You know my ambassador, huh?
Yes, yes.
Good to see you again. Good to see you. So thank you.
No. Just started the debate, and I think we may be successful in getting seated.
Commercial partners for which so it's impact of that. Why don't you introduce my finance minister, Mr. Santos?
Because Congressman Rangel was very, very supportive. When I was trade minister 10 years ago, approving the Andean Trade Partnership Act.
That's right. It's good to see you again.
You're not having the joint chief of Colombia. You're not that yet.
So sorry to keep
the best, you know the best.
Of course.
But how many people are going to be Senate side? And we hope to be supporting the Senate's going to attach to the bill, negotiate trade agreements, which we have no piece of labor rights and environmental conditions.
Because this is Ted here, you know, Patrick, of course.
The Kennedy.
This is the Kennedy Complex.
No.
Yeah. And if you walk in here, it's amazing. It's like a living, you know, things that are much better constituent inside of themselves. And you know, I'm sure you've met her in the course of your...
No, I haven't met
her.
No.
Ese era Miguel, su papá.
And of course, this is his mother, with Ted. She lived to 107. Is outlining for members of Congress regime in its support for terrorism in Colombia.
I mean, you were there yesterday. You heard? Well, I'm going to send her a letter.
I mean, that's got to be cleared up because I've had many Democrats say...
Oh, yes.
I hope you see these beautiful couplings I've got.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Good to see you.
You want me to thank you?
Good visit?
Yes.
So, should we sit down?
Yes.
You want more pictures?
No.
I never get this much attention.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. All right. And what's your feedback?
Well, everybody's supportive.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for joining us today. We just had an excellent meeting with the President, and I'd like to invite him to say a few words, and then afterwards I'll make a few comments.
Thank you, Ambassador Selig. Thank you very much for the meeting. We had an excellent meeting with Ambassador Selig. I think it's the continuation of our meeting in Santa Marta when you visited us some weeks ago. We're talking about one of the most important issues in our visit, that it's the ATPA. As you will know, we're committed working hand by hand with the government of the United States, with the Congress of the United States, in trying to reach against the extension and enhancement of the ATPA. As you will know, we've been now for 2 days on the Hill, working with members of the Congress. We have the full support, as the President Bush said this morning in our meeting in the White House, of trying to get ATPA before May 16. That's very important for us. I've been saying, Ambassador Selig, that that's one of the most important parts of the social component of our fight on drugs, and the help that the U.S. is giving us in this fight against a common enemy that is narco-trafficking. We've discussed other issues of the trade between Colombia and the United States, and I really want to thank you for your time and for your support in trying to get ATPA as soon as possible for the benefit for the Andean countries.
Well, it's always both an honor and a pleasure to meet President Pastrana, who I consider not only a colleague but a friend, and I have great admiration for what he has done during his tenure as President of Colombia. It's one reason that I went down to visit Colombia not too long ago. And one of the things that was most impressive at the conference that I attended was to see almost 1,000 entrepreneurs in Colombia trying to strengthen the economy, trying to recognize that a successful economy in Colombia is the core of the social fabric. It's frankly also key to the national security of Colombia. And for that reason, obviously, our prime focus in this meeting and what I've been doing on the Hill over the past couple of days is to try to push to get action in the Senate on the Andean Trade Preference Act. As I think all of you know, this was a bill that I was part of when it was first put together in 1991. It's now been in effect 10 years, and there have been a large number of businesses in Colombia and other Andean countries that have now been dependent on that bill. And one of the most striking examples I saw when I was in Colombia was the cut flower industry, where here people have a choice of growing illegal crops or ones that are legal, and help from Mother's Day to Valentine's Day, and they've moved into I think we had about $400 million of cut flower business from this. And it is just absolutely vital that this be extended as soon as possible. We tried to use some legal authority to extend it until May 16th. Frankly, it can't go beyond, and so for people who are concerned about democracy in Colombia, security in Colombia, dealing with the problem of narcotics in Colombia, social issues in Colombia, this is absolutely vital to go forward. So I was very delighted to have this opportunity to compare notes with the President on how we will accomplish that. So,
thank you very much, Ambassador.
Mr. Selig, what is going to happen after May 16th if the Congress is not going to have passed this law, this bill? What is going to happen? Do you have another alternative?
My alternative would be to have the Congress pass the bill. And that's what President Bush did, something quite rare, and I don't know, in fact, whether he's done so in his tenure. He urged Congress to take this bill up the week of April 22nd because it said it's critical to try to get this done. I was comparing notes with the President. I've had a couple calls with senators today. I've been seeing senators all this week about the critical importance. And here I have to compliment President Pastrana. One of the senators I saw, I just had dinner with President Pastrana. We were talking about the issue, and he has done an extraordinary job about making Colombia's case about the value of this. One other point, though, since you talked about looking beyond, we are also relying very heavily on Colombia's leadership role in our effort to build free trade throughout the Western Hemisphere. And Colombia has been an excellent partner in this with the free trade area of the Americas, or the ALCA, as you may know it. And one of the things we did is compare some notes on that, because after we get the ATPA back in place, we actually want to move ahead free trade in the hemisphere context.